Hello and welcome back. This is MC1 Gamer, and I have another installment from the Dark Magic in the Old World campaign. This is Scenario 2. This is what we're running in the only game in town, which is in North Jersey by Somerville. And this is my vampire counts going up against an Orc and Goblin army. So yay, I finally qualify for one of Malorian's Around the World in I guess in 30 days, where he puts out a request to all of the followers that he has, hey, put up some bat reps and everybody go up against this particular army. So you know, I get one installment in there. I'm hoping to get another one next week when with a couple of undead themed campaigns for the end times. But getting back to this one, last we left off, the cursed Crusade of Malsolin had defeated the teleporting in demons of Slaanesh, and gained some very important artifacts in these magic-infused corpses that were left from the battlefield of the other players in this campaign, which gave me a boost to my healing, my raising, and the restoring of models when I use my invocations or whatnot. Now, this is a huge boon. It will help me in this game as well. It does increase as the game goes on, so for every turn that goes by, it's an extra +1 to the result, which is really nice, especially for an undead army. Now, this particular game is going to be a game with different point levels. 2,500 points for me that I start off with. My opponent has 2,000, but we are using from the General's Compendium, a kind of a modified Desperation Defense game where he can recycle any lost units from his core or from his special. So he can't use anything that is rare. Characters don't spawn again, but if he loses, say, some trolls or his goblins, they will be able to, and if they're fleeing and they're below 50%, he can opt to have them just basically disappear and then respawn them on any table edge other than mine and in my deployment area. So that's huge, and I have to survive. Initially this game was going to be 9 turns. It is actually only 6, so thank goodness, because I don't know how I'd survive 9 turns with this type of a scenario. But I have a very small advantage in points, but a huge disadvantage in terms of having to survive just... I only need one model. I need one zombie on the table. But with the amount of volume that my opponent is bringing to the table, this is going to be a challenge. So let's get to it. I'm going to read the scenarios that were written by the organizer of this campaign, Greg, and he did it from the point of view of each, and he continues to do a great job with this from the point of view of each of the players, and he gives us the scenario from our point of view with all the rules that are involved. And before I even get into that, there's one other thing. My opponent can put down 2 spawning pools, and they can't be in my deployment zone, but they can be right up in front of it, anywhere on the battlefield after we choose sides and before we deploy. And on a roll of 6, and he can roll for each of them after he rolls things like animosity, he can roll and he can get these snotling spawns. And these snotling spawns have like 5 wounds each, but then there are 3 of the bases in there, so that's 15 wounds, and they can keep coming back as long as he keeps rolling 6s. First up is, again, my vampire counts, and here we go. With a piercing scream of pleasure as the zombie clumsily stabbed her through the midsection, the last of the demonettes had banished back to the warp. The cursed crusade had claimed the elven ruin, and the abundant corpses piled around it as its own. Unfortunately, it became clear within a few days that the crusade would have to give up the ruin almost as quickly as they had found it. The clearing and the airy ruin itself gave scant protection during the day to the Crusade's vampires. Furthermore, it seemed that the powerful dark magic billowing forth from the ruins had subsided. Somehow, the Slaaneshi host had managed to snatch that power away with them as they fled. Fell Pegasus scouts, controlled by their necromancer masters, provided visions in the Drakkwald of some nearby caves. A small green-skinned tribe had taken up residence therein, and if they could be pushed out, the caves would be a perfect base of operations for the Crusade. Secure from the towns and prying eyes, and relatively close to the ruin should it begin to leak dar once again. With as much haste as an army compromised of zombies could muster, the Crusade set out to liberate the caverns from the green-skinned horde dwelling there. So, I have a bit of a challenge. I know that there's inhabitants in these caves, and I need them. So let's take a look at the details from my opponent's point of view. And as follows. Mork, or maybe Gork, had certainly blessed the Pink Wog, since they had lost some Gobos and the Squig rider Scarlock Gutbone nearly got crumped, but Babaub and most of the horde had escaped, and what matters most, sweet loots! The Black Orc war boss and his Night Goblin had quickly found a cavern complex in Drakkwald that contained naught but a few bears, easily killed and good eating, and set up shop within. Enjoying his fancy new elven armor and piles of gold, Babaub decided that it was from these caves that he would increase his army and go on to even bigger campaigns, crump more softies, and take their shiny bits. Sure enough, within a day or two, the shaman Snotgrot reported that new snotlings were starting to bud in the cave's pools. In short order, night goblins would start popping out, and then Babaub would have a real wog on his hands. Unfortunately, some dead gits decided to try to take the caves from him. Babaub could tell they were coming from because the cave squibs started acting funny. They could always catch the smell of rotting flesh in the air. Sure enough, the spider riders indicated that a shambling horde of undead was on its way to the caverns. Babaub grinned and thumped his already filthy elven breastplate, as did most of the horde. It was time for another good fight. So, that is the setting, and here we see the battlefield. So, there's a few things that were placed onto the battlefield, some things to signify or look like they were at least cavernous. We didn't have any forests or anything like that, of course no buildings, and you could see on either side where my opponent put the two pools where the snotlings are going to spawn. And here's a picture of deployment. So my thought process here was I wanted to kind of bunker up in the middle, castle up a little bit in the middle, get my units really surrounding my characters, and wanted to protect myself against any kind of potential magic that was cast with the lodestone and with the Iron Curse icon for any war machines that he would have brought, and put my fast movers on the outside. I chose not to vanguard up with my wolves, and I have those fell Pegasi also sitting there, and of course a unit of Vargeists that I figured I could swing around and kind of take out any war machines that he might have. So let's take a look at the armies. Looking from my point of view, his left side, he's got a couple of pump wagons, a unit of goblin archers, a goblin hero, I believe, level on a wolf, and this guy has a magic weapon, so he was mainly focused on trying to take out my ethereals. Another pump wagon. You could see another unit of trolls, a six-man unit of trolls. Then his center is another unit of six-man trolls. I wanted to just show this particular picture. One of his center trolls has a slan head as kind of like a helmet, which I thought was awesome. So getting back to this particular deployment, he has another very large unit of goblins. I think these have spears. He's got his general, an orc general in there, his BSB, and then he has his level 4 orc shaman. I think he might have he has a level 1 shaman that might also be in there. And then you can see off to the right there's a unit of 5 trolls. And then he also has another unit, another block of 20 archers, and then another pump wagon. Here's my deployment, again from my opponent's point of view from right to left. 5 unit of direwolves, my 2 fell Pegasi, or Pegasuses. I have 3 Vargeists. Then there's a Spirit Host, and then I've also converted up some my Cryptars to look very werewolfy. So I have my 8 strong Cryptars in the center. Right behind that is my Mortis engine. Next to that is a 20 strong zombie unit, which has my level 4, my level 3 general, both white kings. In front of them is the ghouls, a 40 strong horde of ghouls. Then the corpse cart. To the left of that is another unit of 20 zombies. In that unit is the Cairn Wraith, and in that unit also is the level 1 Sister Soul, level 1 caster of Necromancy. Further to the left is another Spirit Host, unit of Fellbats, it's 2 strong, and then another unit of 5 Dire Wolves. And his spells. So he has level 4, which had the Vindictive Glare, Gift of the Spider God, I guess it's Morkel Fix-It, or Gorkel Fix-It, and the Curse of the Bad Moon, and his level 1 has the Sneaky Stabbin'. My spells, I have Invocation on all 3 of my casters. So I have Van Hal's Dance for the extra move and the rolls to hit, Invocation, and Hellish Vigor. This is on my general level 3. My level 4 has Curse of Years. I was able to get Raised Dead, yes. Well, with 3 casters, it was very hard to not get everything. And Gaze of Nagash. And, of course, my level 1 also has an Invocation. So, turn 1 goes to the Orks, to the Pink Wog. And, of course, my opponent rolls boxcars. 2 6s, and he gets not 1, but 2 Snotling Swarms. And he moves up one of his pump wagons on the left side. He moves up both of his pump wagons. He looks to chaff up my dogs with one of his Snotling Swarms on one side, and then on the other. He moves as far as he can both of these decent-sized troll units, and then, of course, his 3rd troll units moves up his bolt. All of his units basically just start moving up as quickly as he could. He starts with a spell. I believe this is his magic missile spell, Vindictive Glare, and takes out immediately one of my units of Fell Pegasi. But it was total power, yes. Can only hope that it's going to be a really bad result. Puts down a vortex with it. And this, of course, screams right across the battlefield, right into the middle, where I would be looking to charge if I would. But I don't really care. I actually wish that it went a little bit further. But this was total powered, so he rolled up a 6. This was a calamitous detonation, so he loses a bunch of his goblins, 6 goblins, but rolls a 1 to wound the caster. So the caster survives. This one doesn't take a wound. The turn ends, the magic turn ends, and I save 2 dice. I have the Black Parapet. And his shooting, he takes off one of my Dire Wolves on one side, and then 2 on the other. So, Vampire Count turn 1. I decide I need to charge with this Spirit Host, and I need to try and gum up one of those, at least one of those troll units. And then, of course, I got to clear this chaff, so I charge my dogs. If I overrun, those pools, by the way, are considered dangerous terrain to my entire army. So I charge on the left side as well, and then I look to charge with my Fell Pegasi. Really long bomb charge, trying to get in on that pump wagon, but I figured if I can get it, whether I'm off on the board or not, or if I overrun into his second one, at least I can try to take one of those out, and those are not going to recycle. So I make, obviously, the charge, no-brainer on both Dire Wolves, but I fail with the Pegasi, and they go only, like 2 inches. And I also fail with the Spirit Host, which really sucks because it completely blocked off my Crypt Horrors. Big mistake. So I move up my Vargheists. My idea here is I want to try and take out, if not the Goblin unit on the left side, maybe I could try to take out the unit, the hero character he has on his Wolf, because that guy has a magic weapon and he's definitely going to be hunting down my Spirit Hosts. And then I just looked to move my other Spirit Host up. I couldn't charge. I wasn't within range, but I want to try and get within range that I can maybe, the follow-up turn, try to block up these trolls. And I don't want to get off to the other side because of that vortex, because if it rolls right over, it's magical and it's going to affect the Spirit Host. So here's the board with all my movement. I kind of shuffle a lot of my units off to the left. And I get a monster magic phase. Yes, I get, not only do I have my 2 dice stored, but I channel 1 and I roll a really high number. So it looks like here I've got a full max 12 dice. And I don't really have an option with Curse of Years. I'm out of range for his big Night Goblin unit with his characters, which would have been my main target. So I figured, let me take out one of these troll units again. I'm going to probably be moving up and charging if he doesn't make his charge next turn, my Spirit Host into this left-hand troll unit. So I figured, let me whittle them down. It would increase the lifespan of that particular Spirit Host to block them up. So I take out one with Curse of Years, because I guess he rolls up for each of them, and he rolled 3 6s. And then we have a combat with the Snotling Horde. I do a few wounds. He takes out 1 dog. I win the combat. And then this has got to be the most champion Snotling swarms that ever lived. I do a couple of wounds on him as well, but he takes out all 3 of these dogs. And the Vortex, of course. I had a 50-50 shot on where it would go. Even if it went, maybe better than 50-50, because if it went anywhere to my lower right, I'd be thrilled. Move it out of the way. Maybe it would just dart off onto my right side of my board, where I don't really have much going on except for direwolves. But it goes right into the heart of my army. It only takes out 1 ghoul, which is not a big deal. And Orks and Goblins turn 2. Of course, he rolls a 6s again, so he gets another unit of swarms on that side. He charges in with this particular one on my Fellbats. Both troll units are going to try and make a charge on my ghouls. This is very frightening. So the swarms easily make it in. The Snotling swarms easily make it on my Fellbats, and he makes both unit of trolls. I should have known. They have a pretty decent movement rate. I was just hoping that maybe he would fail with one of them. And what's really harsh here is that Vortex. I can't even get any help. So he moves up his other troll unit to kind of back these guys up. So if I do manage to defeat one of these units, he's got reinforcements. And he moves up his other Snotling wagons and his other unit of bow goblins, and the lord that he the hero goblin that he has on the wolf moves to the other side. So he moves up this Snotling wagon again, this pump wagon. And again, moves up his main horde. I think he's still trying to stay out of that 18-inch range. Moves up another Snotling wagon, and he casts what I believe is he attempted to cast another magic missile, and he total powers. Great, total power. So he loses 6 more guys, but again, no wound on his caster. His shaman survives. So I have a little tickle fight with the direwolves and the 1 swarm that still remains, the Snotling swarm. I destroy. I believe I take out another. Do a few wounds and take out one of the swarms on the other side with my Fel Pegasi. And we have a bit of a bloodbath with my ghouls, but I do a bunch of wounds to him, take out one of his trolls, but I lose about 10 or so, like 10 or 12 or 15 of my ghouls. The 6+ regen helps. The fact that I have a lot of attacks helps. That I'm in horde position helps. But I still take a lot of losses, and I really got to get these guys pumped back up with some invocations next time. So Vampire Count's turn 2, I believe, and I have to charge. So I need to clear the way for my. Oh, and as you can see, that Vortex, before I even go into this, swoops off to the left, gets in front of my my Vargeist. I don't care; they can fly, but they're now out of the way of my Crypt Horrors. Yay! Something's going my way here, but I still am kind of blocked up by my own Ethereal unit, so I need to charge him. I'm going to look to try and get him in on that pump wagon, and then charge my my Crypt Horrors into the side of these trolls. Then I make a big mistake here. My Vargeist, they are awesome on the charge. They're frenzied. They're strength 5. They don't have any defenses other than their toughness 4. And I wasn't in range for my for my Mortis Engines regen to get a little bit of a benefit there. So, and of course, I completely have a brain cramp and I forget all about the potential for Snotlings. Charge in, hoping that I can get this unit, destroy it, and then overrun into his mounted Wolf Rider. And of course, the Snotlings are going to come out and ruin my day. So I make it in with both of these other charges, both the Spirit Host and my Crypt Horrors, and I lose all my Vargheists to these Snotlings. The Snotlings pop out and are just absolutely obliterated. I guess they are destroyed in the process as well. Yay, I don't have to worry about those. One of them does survive, as you can see, underneath the wings of my magnetized wings of my Vargheists. And my Spirit Host that charged the pump wagon released a couple of other Snotlings, which he tried to angle so it would go after my Crypt Horrors, but they don't make it. He rolls real horribly there. And of course I look to charge out. I need some help here. I need to try and preserve as many of these ghouls as possible. And here's the combat as it would look with all the players. But I have still a good-sized unit of ghouls. I've got my Cairn Wraith, and I've got a nice flank charge with a very large-sized unit of Crypt Horrors. And I roll a decent magic phase. So I throw down, I heal back some of these ghouls, which is great. I needed to, again, I need more bodies because I'm going to lose some. He's going to get stomps. And then I throw down Curse of Years on his big unit, which I was, again, very happy about. He loses a bunch of goblins. I put a wound on one of his shaman. And then I throw down a Van Hels, not a bubble, just on the ghouls. They got a lot of attacks. Yes, they have the poison, but I've got he had a spell the previous turn that makes me reroll my 6s, which kind of hamstrings me a little bit. So I lose out on the 6s. If I roll them, I need to roll again for 6s, but this will at least let me get to reroll any misses. I kill the swarms on the other side, the Snotlings, but I lose a Pegasi in the process. Reform, hoping to try to charge in on one of those pump wagons. And the Vortex decides to scatter right behind my Mortis Engine. Okay, so I do some wounds with my Spirit Host, and this battle goes very well for me. I lose a bunch of ghouls, but I rip through with all of the attacks, especially the Crypt Horrors, his trolls, and take down a ton of his trolls, and they break. Both units break. I decide to try to run him down with my Cairn Wraith. He flees off with one of his trolls, the last remaining troll from the left-hand unit, and then this unit flies. Not just he couldn't fit within an inch away from either of these units, so he flew all the way through them, past his difficult terrain. And I rolled, I think, maybe a 1. I mean, Snake Eyes, I think I rolled for my... I did try to pursue with my Cairn Wraith, and of course, my hope was if I pursued far enough, I would run right into that other unit of trolls, but rolling Snake Eyes, that's all I went. I went 2 inches, or 1 inch. So, turn 3 for Orks and Goblins. With his 1 fleeing troll, based on the rules, he opts to remove it and take it off the table, so he can now bring back that whole unit of 6 strong. And of course, he rolls again for another swarm. It's a 1 in 6 chance, and he's rolling 6s like the entire dice is filled with 6s. He decides to charge in on my ghouls. He wants to take this unit of ghouls out, and he makes it easily. Easy charge. He random moves in one of his pump wagons into the side of my dogs. We know how that's going to go. This pump wagon goes into my my Feld Pegasus, and he moves up his other pump wagon, trying to get get around the back side of and the rear side of my unit, which could be catastrophic as well. Of course, his existing unit of trolls reforms, but that's not such a bad thing, because if they kept on fleeing, he probably could have just pulled them off the table and gotten a whole unit of 6 of them back. And there goes the unit of 3 trolls, 6 trolls that are coming back. They come back on the table edge. They're quite far away, but these guys can move pretty fast at 6 move, 12 march. So they move up, and the rest of his units on the left side move up. And he ends the magic phase, doesn't do much else, and I store 2 of my dice. So the pump wagon takes out the last of this unit's Fell Pegasus. And of course this pump wagon just rips through the dogs, dead direwolves. And this is just a massacre of my ghouls. And I do some more wounds on this pump wagon with my Spirit Host and destroy that. Looks like the vortex goes through my Crypt Horrors. So I failed a few. I think I went over like 6 of them, so I failed a few of these regens. So my turn, I charge with my Cairn Wraith. I need some help here. I'll get a charge, I'll get a flank, I'll get some good attacks, so I had a good strength level. Hopefully I'll do some wounds. I really need to help these ghouls out. And I charge also with my Spirit Host, and then I follow up with the Mortis Engine. I figured, hey, it's a chariot. It's got die 6, strength 5 hits. I could use everything I get, and he's got just enough room in there that he can fit and clip them. And yes, both of them make it in. So I move up my other Spirit Host to chaff up his rallied unit of trolls. I also want to put myself in a position where maybe I could charge that shaman. I want to try and see if I can lock up that shaman, take him out. He's been targeting me a couple times, failing, trying to take out my Spirit Host with some magic missile spells. So we'll see how that plays out. And I get another big magic phase. All right. I mean, I needed this. It's hit or miss sometimes. Saving up those 2 dice on the parapet helps tremendously, but I need my magic. So I get the Van Hales off and use that to try and turn around my Crypt Horrors. So my magic phase ends. I save 2 more dice. And combat. So we destroy these trolls. I mean, impact hits. He can't attack the Spirit Host, and I've got the Cairn Wraith there. I managed to thankfully survive. I kill off the ones off to the left-hand side. He doesn't have enough attacks left to do much more than a few shots on the ghouls. Doesn't finish off the ghoul unit. And the unit breaks, and I chase him down with both my Cairn Wraith and my Spirit Host, and I catch him, I believe, with the Cairn Wraith. I may have caught him with both. He rolled pretty poorly. That Spirit Host is facing the wrong way. And we go into turn 4, Orks and Goblins. So turn 4, what do you know? He gets another swarm. He rolls 6s again. And his unit of destroyed that I ran down, destroyed trolls, comes in on the table edge. Of course, look at this horde. He charges in with his now reformed bunker unit with his general on my Spirit Host. Charges the rear of this Spirit Host with his troll unit. Makes it in easily with both. And moves up some of the rest of his units to face the Crypt Horrors. Amazingly enough, I was kind of surprised. His pump wagon does not go into the Crypt Horrors. I think he's trying to maneuver them around so they can go after my bunker in successive turns, or maybe even go after the Mortis Engine, which, if you don't know, if it does blow up, it blows up pretty catastrophically, and the later in the game that it happens, it's more powerful and for a larger radius. So we're at turn 4 now, so this is a good time to try and go after that. He doesn't even need to go after my bunker unit. He can just blow up that Mortis Engine and probably take out most of my rest of my army. So he moves his Goblin Shaman off, away. I guess he could see that there's a potential that my Cairn Wraith could charge him in the follow-up turn, which is exactly what I was thinking. And so he's looking to now cast a spell at that particular one. I think this is the Magic Missile spell again. So he goes ahead and he casts that Vindictive Glare and Total Powers. And this time, this wipes out my my Cairn Wraith, but he gets sucked into the warp, which thankfully that helps me tremendously, because now all he has is a level 1 Shaman against my level 4, my level 3, and my level 1. I store 2 dice at the end of his magic phase, because I don't know if he lost the dice, but he didn't have obviously anything enough to cast, and if he did cast, he failed. And combat. Easily he takes out this Spirit Host. He's got ranks, he's got a Battle Standard Banner, a regular banner in the unit, and he doesn't have any magic weapon on his general, but didn't matter. So that was easy. He reforms, and this other Spirit Host is a champ. I figured with a flank, with a rear with a charge, and he has 1 rank. He can't can't possibly win. I mean, just on combat res alone, I'm going to lose a few wounds. But I win this combat. I wound him all 3 times, and he must have failed all 3 of these wounds because one of these guys goes down, and that absolutely saves me tremendously. I win this combat. So that Spear's Host is still there. So, vampire counts now, turn 4. And we measured, and just by a hair, it was just basically by the bases, I'm in sight for this pump wagon. I'm able to do a wheel around and charge with my Crypt Horrors on that pump wagon. I didn't want to have to go into the unit with the Night Goblins because that pump wagon could charge my Mortis engine or come into the rear of my bunker with all my characters, and if it did, it would just lock down that, at least for a turn, and that would just allow him to get everything so much closer. So I needed to charge that, and I did. I make it in. So this is exactly what I needed. I also charged with my Mortis engine to go into the bunker, the unit of trolls. It's already been whittled down by 1. I've got it. He can't hurt the Spirit Host, but with a flank and with a charge and my impact hits, I could do enough combat res that hopefully I won't lose the Spirit Host. But should it come to pass that it blows up, hey, it's turn 4 and it's going to have a great radius. And look at all those units, including his characters that are sitting right there. So I get a Van Hell's Dance up, bubble this. This is going to help with any of the combats that might come into play, especially on the follow-up turn. But I total power it and miscast, which sucks. And all I need, of course, is a crumble right now. I mean, this is on my level 4, so it's not my general, which is good. And I lose a few of those zombies. So absolutely destroy the pump wagon, reform my Crypt Horrors to go after whatever else is on this left side. I'm not concerned. I just wanted this Mortis engine to survive this turn, because if he destroys it, then on next turn it's now turn 5, and it's even stronger. The explosion is then a strength 5, and success. I kill one of his trolls. I survive, obviously, because I win the combat with my Spirit Host. But I have regens. He only had a couple of trolls that could attack me, and I survive with some good regen rolls. I only take 1 wound on the Mortis engine for my efforts. So, turn 5 for the Orks and Goblins, and he charges all over the place. Charges my Crypt Horrors with his Night Goblins. He charges. Now, I made a mistake. I moved up. You can see on the right-hand side here. I moved up my zombies to try and chaff up his bunker unit with his general and his BSB. But I figured it's just a unit of zombies. So what? They'll get destroyed. I don't care. And he'll either have to reform or roll over on way out of the arc. And I moved my main unit with my casters up enough to be within 18 inches easily, but out of any overrun range and behind the unit of ghouls. But I forgot that I had my level 1 in there. And I'd already burned the scroll, so I didn't really care. But there's my level 1. So Sister Soul is in trouble here. He managed to get his pump wagon into my Crypt Horrors, and he moves his hero on the wolf all the way up to threaten my chariot. And he moves up all of these other units again, really closing in with just a tremendous amount of stuff on this side. My Crypt Horrors lay waste to his pump wagon, even though I took, I think maybe he didn't do a lot of impact hits, and I regen them, and I killed all but 5, I think, of these goblins, and tried to pursue. He rolled a 7, I rolled a 5, so I failed. Figured I'd wipe them out, but I should probably have just let them go. Even if I let them go, we would have recycled them, but I could have just reformed and got them back into the fight. So a little mistake. And here we have the aftermath of what was a calamitous explosion, just like I was hoping. This was just absolutely beautiful, feeling epic, and it didn't hurt me that much. As you could see, all I lost was a few zombies. Unfortunately, I also lost my ghouls off to the left. But he might have lost his level 1 shaman. Yes, he lost his level 1 shaman, which was sitting back behind the trolls. If they were sitting still in that bunker unit, then they would have been okay. But he moved them off in a previous turn to sit behind one of those trolls. He lost a bunch of trolls as well. I rolled phenomenally. Even though I lost a bunch of zombies on my own, I don't think I rolled less than 7 on any of these units, and some of them were like 9s and 11s. So he lost a bunch of trolls. Lost his I think it was his last remaining caster. Whittled down some of these swarms down on the bottom right, and I'm thrilled with it. I knew that if that mortar engine was going to go, let it go in the midst of his unit, his army, and at a strength 5 and a huge radius, it couldn't have been better. And we run this combat, and he challenges my level 1, and of course, what do I do with my level 1? I accept, which was stupid. I should have just said, no, I'm not going to go. Sister Soul's not going to challenge your orc war boss. But of course, I had resolved that I was going to lose her, and I figured maybe she might actually do better with her toughness and take less wounds. But of course, he does 3 wounds with the overkill, and then but he doesn't delete this whole unit. I only kill one of his goblins, but he doesn't do very well with the goblins against my zombies. So I crumble a little bit more, but this unit sticks, and that's great. Now it's Vampire Count's turn 5, I believe. Yes, and of course I'm going to charge. I try to charge with that corpse card. I want to try and finish off the swarms that he has over there, because I don't want them coming up behind me and possibly if there's 15 wounds on them, and I fail. So he could charge me still. I think I'm still within the arc of his Wolf Rider here, but I rolled horribly, and the corpse cart's just sitting there. And I don't think it's even in range that it might even impact anything with the 6-inch boost that it gets. And I'm not really worried about the Crypt Horrors, because there's nothing there that's really going to scare them at this point on the left side of the board. So I reform my Crypt Horrors to try and lend a hand. They're going to need it in the center. His general is pretty tough. And I had charged in with Captain Hieronymus. I know that unit that's still left. There's not a lot of these Night Goblins left, and and they have the Flaming Banner. So I'm thinking, that's a really butch war boss. And look, White Kings are not anything to sneeze at, but I've got the Dragonbane gem, and so I'm gonna have a 2-up ward against his general, and he's got really good armor and a 6-up ward with his Elven relic that he got from the last game. But I figured, if I can get some wounds in, maybe I can take him out, but I'm not going to lose, unless I really roll horribly, I'm not going to lose that White King. So I get a Van Hale's Dance off, so I can get re-rolls, which is great. And I grow this unit up a little bit as well, so both these units now have been padded up pretty considerably. So I got ranks. Both of these units have banners. I have the Standard Bearer. It's good, and this is exactly what I was hoping would happen. I wanted to do some more damage to his war boss. I don't get any wounds in on his war boss. I roll horribly. I only lost 1 zombie, so his Night Goblins didn't do anything to me. I don't think I did anything back, but I won the combat. But I think he had the Crown of Command in there somewhere. I think it might have been his Battle Standard Bearer. And this was a little cheesy by my opponent, but it was very smart. I don't know if there was any rule that allows you to do that, disallows you to do this, but he did it, and it was. I'd say it's brilliant. He got away with it, and I applaud him for thinking of it. He needs to get. He recycles one of his Goblin units, and they have the Fanatics, and he needs to just get within certain range, and the Fanatics pop out. So he doesn't conga line, but he does two wide by however long, and that gives him an extra 5 or 6 inches onto the battlefield where he would have been further back. And so I can't fault him. Neither of us really knew of any reason why he couldn't do this. So he did it. And of course, what do you know? He gets another round of swarms. So more swarms popping up. I don't think they're going to be as effective as they could have been earlier in the stage, but it's just I've never seen anybody roll so many 6s. And he declares all kinds of charges. He does not charge the corpse card as well with his Wolf Rider. He decides to charge my bunker unit, and he's going to try to sack the quarterback. He's got another troll unit that charges the flank of the zombies to try and lend a hand to his general's unit. And, of course, he makes it with all of them. And, of course, his defeated unit of trolls just comes. He's just recycling them. Again, it's getting late in the game. I don't know if these guys are going to get in close enough where they're going to matter. So, here we have a picture of his snotlings. He moved his unit of of goblins up close enough that the snotlings would launch. And where do they launch? They don't just launch. He gets 3 of them in this unit. They launch. He tries to move them right through his own trolls, admittedly, and his own bunker, but he wants to move them all the way through so he can get not just get my zombie unit with my White King, but also my bunker unit with all my casters and my general. And it works. It pops all the way through because the angle he had on them, they easily would not have been able to fit within an inch of range of every. So they just keep popping through. So he gets them through basically 3 units. So a very smart move on my opponent's part. I don't know if he took a wound on his trolls. He does minor damage with just a few zombies on the both of my units, but those they're still there. So they can easily launch right back through my bunker unit. And if I don't have any zombies left, well, you know, they're gonna go after the characters. So, and he did that on the left side as well. So just like where he had the 2 wide by God knows how long on his goblins, he was able to get close enough when he marched those guys up to be within range of my Cryptars. So he launches 3 of them through, and he just does an enormous amount of hits. I don't have the boost from the Mortis engine anymore, so it's just a 5-up regen, and it's enough wounds to take out 2 of my Cryptars, and a couple of wounds still left on another one. I only take 1 wound for my trouble with the corpse cart, and do a few wounds onto his swarms. I don't mind this. And another bloodbath. I lose the even though I have the 2-up Dragonbane gem against his unit and against his general, that unit of trolls that comes in just does a tremendous amount of damage to my zombies, and combat res obliterates them. I think I did like 1. I killed like 1 Night Goblin with my zombies. I challenge his Wolf Rider. We have a pillow fight. I think he had like 2, maybe of the 4 trolls. I didn't have the one on the other side, and he kills a bunch of them, but not enough. And I have 1. Look at that, 1 zombie left. The battle standard bearer. Yay! Even if that guy goes down, all my characters survive. They don't get any crumbles. I don't lose any wounds there, and that's all. They can now scatter to the 4 winds. I can have 1 go one direction, 1 go to the other. I don't care. As long as he doesn't finish them off, I'm in good shape. And this is how the game ends. So this is what's left. He's got a bunch of stuff coming in from either side, but I survived the game with my main characters, my general, my level 4. Hieronymus Stone has sacrificed himself for the cause of the vampire counts. But I think the likelihood is that I probably would have eventually lost this if we did the actual 9 turns. But let's be honest, 9 turns, that's a lot to ask. I only had a 500-point advantage, and I had the disadvantage of him just continuously cycling in these new units. So it was a great game. Joe is an awesome guy. He's a very smart general. We had a lot of fun together doing this and playing this game, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this, please, I'm going to be doing more. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.